So when you look at the recently concluded elections of 2025 and 2026, you realize that we had both positive democratic participation and also we had areas that actually need strengthening our peaceful political engagement. It is true that many things worked out well, okay, during the last election. But there are also areas like you've been discussing that we can identify and jointly work together to improve. So the purpose of today's discussion is not to discourage your participation. I remember one of you expressed fears that when you're here you have the opportunity to discuss, but when you're out there, Afande Hadali may not give you that opportunity. So I want to say that for today I am here not to discourage your participation, but rather to encourage you to have a responsible, a peaceful, and lawful engagement. Because you being political actors, you realize that we can only have meaningful engagements and dialogue when we follow the law. Because politics is also guided by the laws, okay? And so when we breach the law, it really becomes very hard to participate. And that's now when you invite in us to come and tell you that here you are in breach of the law, or you are in breach of peace, and therefore we encourage you to participate and engage responsibly and peacefully. So this brings me to the key issues now. What is politics? Of course I know many of you have come across this. It's not a new term to you, and you can define it differently according to different scholars. Personally, I'll try to define it in a simple way by saying politics is the process through which citizens participate in making decisions about leadership and public affairs. That you have the platform where you engage and you participate to choose your leaders, okay? Like you, many of you are here, I'm sure you are here as a result of that process. You did not just find yourself here. So in whatever you've been doing politics. And also discussing about your issues. Issues to do with governance, issues to do with the economy. I heard you talk about accountability and what have you. So what does politics involve? I think you're there. Politics involves voting. Politics is about leadership. Politics is about civic engagement. Politics is about public debate. The same way you leaders have been debating here and engaging. And then politics is about policy advocacy. Like the Netherlands Institute is trying to advocate that as leaders, you need to engage in dialogue on a number of issues. Because without dialogue, you may not really achieve some of the things you want to achieve. And at that strategic level, they are engaged in advocacy. They engage the government and other stakeholders to create this platform. And then also politics is about accountability. When you're a leader, you have got to account to your people. Like many of you when you were contesting, you made so many promises. And it's upon that promise that you were voted into leadership. So at the end of your tenure, when you're going back probably to seek your mandate, or periodically, you're expected to account to your people about your promises. So politics should never be confused with violence. You find some leaders thinking that when they have a right to participate in politics, in leadership, in governance, that they have got a right to do it with total disregard of the law. And that's where the issues of radicalism comes in. You don't want to engage peacefully, responsibly, and lawfully. You want to use violence, hooliganism. you want to block the roads because you are having a rally. That's not politics. So politics should never be confused with violence. Okay? You can actually do politics without being what? Without being violent. Can you go to the next slide? Then we talk about the concept of security. Security is the protection of people's lives, the protection of our property, our human rights, public order, and national stability. So for us, when we are looking at security, we are looking at you, the people. Are you secure? Are you safe? What about your property? Is your property secure, or it is at risk of being destroyed by probably people who are participating in what? In politics. And then the human rights of people. As you participate, are you violating other people's rights because you want to enjoy your right? Or you are enjoying your right while also respecting other people's what? Right. Because while you have a right to do whatever you're doing, there's the other individual who is not interested in what you're doing and would also want to continue with his or her business. So, you have got to ensure that people's rights are not tramped on. Then the national stability. The country must remain stable despite the political cycle. So that's why you always find that we as security, we are always there to make sure that the country does not go to the what? To the extremes because there is electioneering. We have got to make sure that the country remains stable. Okay? You cannot overstretch the country to the extent that there is volatility or there is risk of really things not working out because of the political environment. So these are the key aspects that we look at when we are looking at security and politics. So when we have security, you realize that citizens are able to work, people are able to study, and then we attract investments, both foreign and local investment. Because when the political situation is stable, when the security of the country is stable, then you're able to attract such investments and make sure that the condition is really conducive for business to flourish. Because there is peace. That's why we always say we can do everything, but we should make sure that the peace of the country is not breached. And when there is no security, you realize that businesses will close, schools will not be there, schools will close, investors will run away, those intending to come and invest in the country will not come. Even you who wants to start your business, you will want to wait and monitor and see how is the political environment. So you don't want to risk your capital. And then the development can slow down just because of the insecurity within the country. So, next. Why do youth matter? Why do we matter as youth? You realize that young people are the largest voting bloc in the country. And you realize that this was at the center of the last elections discussion. You and me knew very well the impact, the influence that the young people would have on the last elections in terms of numbers. We had so many young people who were voting for the first time. So that's when you realize that the youth are really very what? Very important. Then the youth are also innovators. You are the young people with new knowledge and skills. And because of that knowledge and skills, you're always involved in bringing up new things that the old people may not really be able to do. Then also the youth are actually opinion leaders like you. You shape opinions, you bring up new ideas, okay? You are social media influencers. You realize that today, there's a lot of discussions that are going on social media. even more than other formal engagements. And most of these social media are actually governed by the youth. Okay? So the youth are the future leaders of this country. Many of you have got the opportunity to be leaders when you're still youth. I have slightly gone beyond the age of youth, I think, by about a year. I missed the opportunity of participating in politics. And some candidate mobilizes his supporters, they go to a polling station, and they create a stampede. And some person who may have wanted to go to vote may fear to go to vote because of such threats and violence. And then there are also conflicts that normally emerge among different candidates. So however, many districts also experienced peaceful elections where the political competitors acted respectfully and with regard to the law. So this demonstrates that peaceful political participation is achievable. Like in eastern Uganda, you realize that many districts had relatively peaceful elections. We did not experience very serious violence in our region. There was peace, although there was also some competition in some areas that created what? Tension. But for the case of eastern Uganda, there was not as much violence as you would imagine in some parts of the country. So what are the common youth issues that happened during that period? You realize that the youth were mobilized for confrontations by different candidates. There were rumors spreading through social media about rigging of elections, ballot stuffing, like somebody was saying. You know, they have brought ballot papers and they are critiqued. These were the issues. There were conflicts arising from different political parties and candidates. And then there were also demonstrations that would require dialogue and lawful engagement. So many of these situations were resolved through cooperation among different stakeholders. So, like you were sharing, dialogue is the only way you can resolve a conflict. Okay? You may have a conflict, you may have a disagreement, you may belong to different political parties and have different opinions. But as long as you want to achieve harmony and peace, you must always get together and talk. And the same that happens with the different stakeholders and actors, even us as security. Most times we have always achieved peace through engagements and dialogue. We dialogue with the candidates, we dialogue with the leaders, with the Electoral Commission, to make sure that you come to a common ground and enable the process to take place. So the engagements would take place among security agencies, local leaders, the Electoral Commission, religious leaders, cultural leaders, and youth leaders. So why do some youth become involved in the political violence? What are the drivers to political violence, especially by the youth? Among them is unemployment. You realize that most of our youth are unemployed. And you know, when you are unemployed, some of them are not actually there to participate in the politics, but they are there to look for a livelihood. So once someone comes up with something to induce that person, the person is acting because he has been paid. Okay? Has been paid and so has got to do whatever he's doing, but he's not there for meaningful participation. Then you also realize that as a result of the unemployment, many of our youth are idle. You find them, they wake up in the morning, they have nothing to do, and so they are easily manipulated. Then poverty. You realize that many of our youth still have a challenge of employment, both the educated and the uneducated. And because of that, you realize that their financial status is always not good. And so, coupled with the monetization of our politics, it makes them very vulnerable. In that, once someone comes up with some money, they can easily follow whatever that person says without questioning. Then misinformation is another challenge. People get wrong information and they don't have the opportunity to verify it. False information that is spread through the social media and it is easily shared and spread through bushfire. So those issues incite violence coupled with the drug abuse. We have a challenge of drug abuse. And many of our youth, especially in urban centers, urban and pre-urban centers, are actually victims of drug abuse. And you know, once a person is intoxicated, this person is not him or herself, can do anything. You're speaking to a person, you think you're talking to a normal person, maybe you're talking to an intoxicated person. You're actually talking to the drugs in the brain. So that becomes very hard. And that's why they are not able at times to keep peace and order when they are mobilized. So there's also issues of political intolerance, where someone of a different political party or opinion does not want to listen to the other person. When the other person is still talking, you don't want really to listen, you don't want to accommodate other people's ideas and opinions. And that creates tension among people. So, when some people think that when you don't have similar ideology, similar political opinion, similar political parties, they assume that those are enemies. But ideally, you're not enemies. You're simply people with differing opinions about how society should be organized. And so because of that, you should never escalate into a situation of violence, of not being to talk to each other, of thinking that the other person is not right simply because you disagree. Because at the end of the day, it's from those disagreements that you can shape better ideas. You may think your idea is the best, but when actually the other person has a better what? Idea. And so you can copy from the other person. So politics requires respect. You have got respect to one another, and that's when you can act. Because we all operate in the same environment. You don't have your own community that you're going to deal with. If you're contesting in Bale City and you're for this party, the other person of another party will also come and contest in the same area and talk to the same people. So you must have respect for one another. So the role of youth in peaceful politics. What is the role of the youth? Youth should become peace builders. The leaders must be building blocks of peace. And so are the rest of the people. Then youth must promote dialogue instead of violence. That one we have agreed. That irrespective of the differing opinions or the unfavorable environment, the option we have is dialogue. Because we cannot pick up arms to go and burn what we have constructed. To achieve what we have achieved has taken us time and resources. So we cannot afford to destroy it, because rebuilding is very costly and takes time. That's why for us, we do not normally give a chance that you see people are just mobilizing. As long as we have intelligence that your intention is wrong, we come and stop it before it happens. Then we should also, the youth must be responsible voters, and you must vote based on ideas, policies, integrity, competency. You must not practice tribalism or violence, because these are the issues that bring about violence. You want to segregate, or you campaign along tribal lines. You're saying the other candidate is of this tribe, so don't vote for such a person. And so you're creating divisionism among the people. But these are some of the strong points that our candidates have. And they do it with the disregard of the effect it can cause to the community. Then you must also be community educators. You must be the change movers in our society. When you're a leader, the rest of you look at you as a source of knowledge and wisdom. And they assume that whatever you do is right. So we should be careful as leaders. Okay? Otherwise you may become misleaders instead of leading your people well. So you also have the responsibility to teach people about peaceful elections, not inciting people to cause violence, that we should read. Instead, you should be talking to people on how to keep peace and avoiding violence. Civic responsibility. What is the responsibility of the citizens? Many of our young people don't know their civic duties. So as a leader, you have got a responsibility to sensitize them, to participate in electoral processes, and do not think that is not their responsibility. Many young people, by the way, much as they are registered voters, some choose not to go and vote, not knowing that they have a responsibility to participate. The other role is your constitutional rights. What are your rights as a citizen of Uganda? You are also supposed to be ambassadors on this social media, digital ambassadors. If you're on a platform, what are you exchanging? What are you sharing with the peers? Are you shaping people positively, or you are influencing them negatively? Before forwarding information on social media, what do? You have come across something on social media. Do you try to find out whether it is true? Do you verify it? For example, you find somebody posting that there is rigging of votes at such and such a polling station. We are going into the LOC election. Okay? And probably you have a candidate. Then somebody posts something. Do you simply jump on it and say it is true? Or you try to take your time and find out and verify before you also circulate the information? Some of you just start posting in different groups where you belong. You get it, you simply circulate. And you know that what you're circulating is necessarily looking at what you're going to achieve. Even in your participation here, not every one of you should be vying to become a leader. You can influence and reshape the society without necessarily being voted as a person. You can be a leader without a position in our society. But the challenge, many people think that to be a leader, you must have an office, you must be holding an office. Not really. So participate in community policing activities in our society. Community policing sensitize people about laws, about how they can keep peace. Many of our young people commit crimes because they are ignorant about our laws. And when they get into our hands, they get shocked to realize that whatever they were doing was actually unlawful. So as leaders, we need to equip ourselves with the best laws in our society, especially the ones that touch people's day-to-day lives, so that we prevent them from getting into the hands of the law. Neighborhood watch. You realize something is going on at the neighborhood, you take responsibility. There are so many wrong things that happen in our community. You realize, for example, a particular factory is contaminating a river stream. Okay? And you're a leader. What do? You take up the responsibility and report to the relevant authorities and say there is environmental pollution that's going on in this particular area. That's leadership. It's not only about going to the council and you deliberate on budget issues. It should be about anything that touches the society. And then engaging in youth development programs. These issues you shared with them. There are so many deliberate programs that have been put forward by the government, where even youth have got special considerations. It is very important that as leaders, we encourage our youth to take up those opportunities. Because one of the challenges that our youth have is the sources of capital. But if we have where we can get capital, and yet some people are ignorant about where to get that capital. As a leader, you should go on and sensitize your people that there is such a place where you can go, pick up this money and start a livelihood. The role of Uganda Police Force. What is the mandate of the Uganda Police Force? The Uganda Police Force has got responsibilities, and its mandate is derived from the Constitution and the Police Act. And the core mandate is about maintaining law and order. We are the lead agency when it comes to ensuring that there is law and order. Other agencies, they support the police in doing that. That's why the police is always there first. And people always ask, where is police? Especially if we don't come in time. Then we also protect people's lives and property. We do prevent crime. That's a core mandate of police. We detect and prevent crime. We protect citizens regardless of their political affiliation. Many of you should never fear to visit police simply because you belong to a certain political party. No. For us, we are there to serve every citizen. So if you have a challenge, you should feel free to approach police for help. And leaders, really. Managing public assemblies in accordance with the law. Some of you are talking about the public order management. Our key mandate is there to ensure that all public assemblies are managed according to the law. We also investigate electoral offenses. My brother expressed a concern that he went to police to report an incident of rigging and he was not helped. It's unfortunate, but many times those cases are registered. And we actually designate a desk specifically to handle election-related offenses. During the election period, at every division and police station, there is always a designated desk to handle political and electoral offenses. So you should always get help. So police to do this work, it cannot do it alone. We do it together with the community and other stakeholders. When we are alone, we can't achieve. Because most of these things happen within the community, and as an agency, we can't do everything. So policing is really the responsibility of everyone. Anyone can be a policing person. You can be a police officer. You can prevent crime, you can detect crime. The Constitution empowers every citizen to, for example, report a case that is being committed by any member of the public. Even when that case is not committed against you, you can report it to police. There is what even they call citizen arrest. A citizen can arrest a criminal if you have the capacity anyway. You can arrest and hand over to police. Not again arrest and mob justice. That's where the problem comes. Many of our people, instead of arresting this person, you know this person is one, and you're over 10 people. Can't you really arrest this person and take to police? Why do you descend on the person and you beat and even kill? What are our experiences in the last elections? So during the elections, police often experience or receive reports relating to destruction of posters. There are issues to do with assaults between supporters. There are malicious damage of people's properties. The candidate has his car and is driving in it, and for you set your supporters that you see that person is going to give out money, and so you wait and burn the car. Those are the incidents. Malicious damage. There are issues to do with offensive communication, abuse on social media. These are very common cases. There are rumors that normally cause panic, and in many cases, there is no dialogue. But dialogue is the only option that can help to avert such issues. Like you can see, that's an engagement that's taking place, sort of a meeting to discuss issues that could have arisen. So, in our region here of Mbale and the surrounding districts, we realize that youth leaders have successfully engaged with different stakeholders. Like, I see many leaders going to the resident district commissioners report incidents in their communities, they report to the police, they report to the DSO, and the purpose is to solve these issues. Some issues are resolved by religious leaders, and the issues revolve around political disagreements, misunderstandings, issues to do with venue. I was supposed to be in this place, but the other candidate has also organized his rally in the same place. And so you come together to harmonize. And through that, you make sure that there is peace and whatever is intended to take place takes place. Social media. This is a very big problem we have today. Everybody is an author of knowledge. Everybody is an author of information. Everybody is a journalist. Social media is a very big challenge today to both leaders and us who are in security. So, but you see, social media is not bad per se. The only challenge is that it becomes a problem when it is misused and abused. And there are laws. You have noticed that some people have actually been taken to court on offenses related to the computer misuse. There is that Computer Misuse Act. It has really worked so much on these people who go to the media to abuse leaders and do all sorts of criminal acts. So you're not safe. Even when you're on social media, still the government agencies will come for you and tell you that while you were on TikTok, you were in breach of this particular section of the law. So this calls for irresponsible conduct at all times. Whether you're directly engaging or you are engaging on social media. But social media can be an education platform, okay? Because people get information from such engagements. Social media can be used for mobilization. You can mobilize your voters. You can promote accountability by telling people what you have done. You can encourage people to participate. But also negatively, the spread of fake news, promotion of hate speech, incitement of violence, and damaging people's reputation. Some people have built a name over a long time. They have cultivated to achieve what they have achieved. But then somebody comes up and begins posting wrong information that constitute defamation. And so you can be arrested and prosecuted, both criminally and along the civil suit. And when you spread such malicious information about a person, and this person makes a civil suit against you, sometimes you are actually fined a lot of money in compensation. So people need to be very careful when you're doing politics on social media. Simply don't post anything about a person because you think you're practicing politics. This person will sue you, and when you fail to pay what has been levied on you by court, you can be in prison and lose your whole political career. So we need to build a culture of peace as leaders. And peace is built through everyday's engagement. As leaders, you should be able to reject violence. You should reject bribery. Do not be the people giving your supporters money to vote for you. Right now, one of the problems we are having in the country is corruption. Corruption. And if we gave each one of us a chance to confess how probably we came in these positions, some of you may be surprised that some leaders are in those positions as a result of bribery. You gave kitu kidogo to your supporters and they voted for you. They were to go nowadays. So as leaders, we should really discourage that. People should be voted on merit. And then we should, okay? And where we dispute the election results, we should always do it lawfully. Go to court, okay? That's the lawful means. And we should promote dialogue at all times. We should participate in community activities. Okay? So at this point, I want to ask you as leaders, what can you as a district leader do in regards to promoting peace, ensuring that there is security in your area, promoting development, but at the same time doing your democratic participation? What can you do as a leader, as you live here and you go back to your place? Because without peace, you know very well that you as a leader, your leadership will be undermined. Would you want to be a leader at a time when there is a lot of theft taking place in your area? Would you want to be a leader when every day they are lynching youth involved in thefts? Okay? So what can you do? So we can say that as leaders at our levels, we can develop district peace committees. Okay? You can influence and have a peace committee at the district. And through that peace committee, you are able to dialogue and resolve conflicts within your area. Then also you can organize youth dialogues. You realize that there is a conflict among youth in a certain sub-county. You bring them together, irrespective of the political parties, like the Netherlands Institute for Multi-Party Democracy has done, to bring the different youth belong to different political parties to dialogue on a number of cross-cutting issues. You can replicate this in your respective areas of leadership. Then you can also conduct civic education. Sensitize people about their responsibilities in regards to your rights to participate in elections, in leadership, in democratic activities. Promote voter education. Like you've said, many of our youth don't know their rights and they don't know how they are supposed to participate in regards to voting. The election cycle is still on. We are going into the LOS elections. Don't think it's over. You encourage them to participate. Where possible, encourage them to take up leadership positions. These positions you have as youth, may I call them affirmative action positions. The Constitution does not restrict you to only those positions. This is simply additional. Because sometimes we are disadvantaged as youth, we may not manage to compete with the other people who are already established financially. That's why we have these lots of hours. But still the Constitution gives us a leeway to participate in those other positions. So let's take them up and compete with our elders. Then we need also to report to the security organs early warning signs of violence. In your communities, as you're interacting with your people, you realize that there is a potential problem that's going to take place. Maybe some youth are mobilizing to go and attack a certain category of people. Or there's going to be a conflict about land. These are some of the problems we have in our community. As a leader, you should be able to report that immediately to the relevant authorities. And then we should be able to encourage peaceful dispute resolutions. Engage different political leaders on a number of cross-cutting issues. Okay? Yes, there are so many issues there that affect our people. They may even be affecting the old people. But you as a youth leader, you take it up and have it addressed with the concerned members of the society. Then also encouraging our people to use the social media responsibly, including ourselves. Promote youth economic empowerment. When the youth are empowered economically, they are not going to be exploited. Okay? They will not engage in criminal activities. They will actually be constructive to the community. Remember, the youth are the majority and they are the strong people of the society. They must be used and engaged in production. Once we leave the young people out of production, the development is going to be affected. Because they pose a very big burden, they become dependent. It's very unfortunate to find that the strongest people are actually depending on the old people. The young people are supposed to be working for the old. So once we don't tap into this labor, it becomes a burden and a threat to national security. So what messages do I have for the young political leaders? One is that a political opponent is not an enemy. Don't look at your colleague as an enemy. After all, these political parties you belong to are like clothes, okay? You put it on today, tomorrow you may choose to put on another one. It's not something that you can say, me I was. Is there any one of you who was born belonging to any of these political parties? It's a choice you have taken. And so when you take it today, tomorrow you may change your opinion. You may be influenced by ideas from other political parties and you change. So don't look at your opponent as an enemy, because tomorrow you may belong together. Are we together? Yes. Then violence destroys our communities. We should make sure that there is no violence in our communities. Stick to dialogue, stick to peaceful conflict resolution mechanisms. We should never resort to violence. We should never be intolerant. Intolerance is the precursor to violence. We should always discourage our people from doing such acts. Leadership requires integrity. Some of you have confessed that you've got into these positions because you gave something and you were voted. Ideally, that is not integrity. Integrity is about doing right, even when you know you're losing out. You stick to what is right. So as leaders, we should be leaders of integrity. We should not engage in corruption. Okay? It will be very disappointing if you are a leader, you've been voted, and you are in a council, and you are the one caught in corruption. What example will you be giving to the young people? Remember that those other young ones are looking onto you as their role models. So we should always be smart and do right at all times. The Constitution protects democratic participation. When we participate in politics, we should do it in line with the law. Many of you have said politics is a game. Many of you say it's a data game. I don't know why you want it to be that. But politics, like any other game, has got rules. Yes, when you go to soccer, it has its own rules. Even the political participation is guided by our laws. The Constitution being the supreme law, and the other subsidiary laws. So whatever we do, we should know that we have got to act within the parameters. Peace is everyone's responsibility. It's not only the responsibility of me as the OC of a station or police officer. It's not a responsibility of RDC as the head of security in the district. It's everyone's responsibility. Young people must become ambassadors of unity. We should always reach for unity within our society and avoid divisionism. So in my conclusion, I want to appeal to you, the leaders of today. They used to tell us you are the leaders of tomorrow, but you are leaders of today. That Uganda's future will not be determined only by those who are elected in offices. Okay? It will also be determined by the character, your character and my character, the wisdom and the actions of the young people. Okay? Politics should unite us around ideas, not divide us through violence. Security is not only the work of police. It begins with each one of us, you and me. We support each other. You have got a responsibility as a citizen to contribute to the security of your area. It's within your mandate. That's why you have a responsibility to report crime. When you don't report crime, police cannot know what is taking place there. So that is a responsibility of everyone. We have got to respect our laws, respect one another, reject violence, promote dialogue, and you have to put Uganda first before ourselves. We talk about patriotism. Okay? patriotism. Patriotism is about putting your country first before self. To the extent that you are even willing to sacrifice or to die for the good of your country or for the rest of Uganda. That is patriotism. And as young people, we ought to be patriotic to our country. When we act with that element of patriotism, then you are not able to engage in violence. Because you look at what you want to gain vis-a-vis the cost to the rest of the society. And you're able to avert the wrong act that you would intend to do. So we should have that as a key aspect. Patriotism, integrity. Those are very key issues as leaders. So if every young leader represented here commits to promoting peace in their districts, in Uganda, in the society where you come from, then we will continue to be model of peaceful democratic participation. Let us choose dialogue over violence. Let us choose service over selfishness, corruption. Once you decide to serve people and you decide not to be selfish, then you'll avoid those other issues. We have seen many of our leaders caught up in this vice of corruption. And when you're a leader, young as you are, and you're caught up in corruption, you're going to be tainted with that corruption and to leaders, big leaders of this country. You have got the potential to be anything. Okay? And so, you should not allow these issues to deter you from achieving your goals. Look at the bigger picture. Don't look at the little things you can achieve today. Let us choose unity over division. We shouldn't be divided. Once we are divided, the division even goes to our community. Some of you are serving in councils where you belong to different political parties, and you want to disagree on everything simply because you come from different political parties, and that division cracks down up to your communities. Some of you, after you were elected, you've not taken the responsibility to reconcile with some of the people who didn't support you. You should be able to reconcile and create harmony and move on. Because the electioneering period is over, it's now time to serve the what? The community. And when you're a leader, you don't only serve those who have voted for you, you serve everyone. So together we can build a peaceful, democratic, and prosperous Uganda. As I conclude, that is what I can say for now. I want to thank you for listening to me. We can have one or two things, and then we'll close. Thank you.